Hello? Hindi ba maririnig? Hello, magandang umaga po.
Digital Pilipinas, bringing together the world's industry leaders in a multi-month movement of innovation and nation building to solve the country's age-old problems with technology. Technology can be our nation's strength and advantage as we showcase Filipino tech expertise to make a lasting impact on the country, influence change, and foster inclusion through technology and innovation across local and global spheres. To do this, Digital Pilipinas champions a 12-point agenda that provides solutions while leveraging on ICT-driven opportunities. FinTech, GovTech, and RegTech. PropTech. Digital transformation. Overseas Filipino banking. Future of mobility. InsurTech. E-commerce. Cybersecurity. Internet of Energy. Future of education, digital cities, gaming. The 12-point agenda will be our guiding star as we trade with trust, encourage cross-border collaborations, e-commerce, open finance, and work hand-in-hand with national and global tech leaders. Digital Pilipinas is a legacy in the making. In 2019, Amor Maclang, FinTech Philippines Executive Director and Geyser Maclang Marketing Communications Incorporated co-founder, led the Philippine delegation in the Singapore FinTech Festival. In 2020, the country joined the ranks of emerging leaders in the largest event for global tech innovators, the World FinTech Festival. Now, Ms. Maclang, the appointed convener of the World FinTech Festival Philippines, is taking it a step further by gathering the brightest minds to establish the roadmap of the country's technological future with Digital Pilipinas. In the coming months, we will create the Digital Pilipinas Blueprint. It is a whole-of-nation, whole-of-society, whole-of-business approach with national leaders, foreign partners, and the private sector. Filipinos are at the heart of the ASEAN digital revolution, with Asia as the sandbox of innovations. With Digital Pilipinas, our nation will collectively break barriers, tech up industries, and go beyond what seemed to be impossible before. Watch out for our different events and programs in the following months featuring Business Without Borders, Real Estate and PropTech, EduTech, InsurTech and HealthTech, Environment and Sustainability, Diversity and Inclusion, Esports and Gaming, Cyber Defense and Cybersecurity. Get ready to join our biggest initiatives during the Global Impact FinTech ASEAN Conference, the Risky Business Series, the World FinTech Festival Reduxes, the Singapore FinTech Festival, the Next Generation Leaders Conference, culminating in the launch of the World FinTech Festival Philippines in November. Join the movement and be part of the country's digital revolution. Contact us by email and through our Facebook pages to learn more and be part of the Whole of Nation, Whole of Society platform for global and local prosperity. Digital Pilipinas is supported by the following partners and prime movers in innovation and nation building from the government and private sectors. Join the movement today. Mabuhay tayong lahat. Mabuhay ang Digital Pilipinas.
A very pleasant morning to all of you. My name is Chino Aurelio and I'll be your host for today. On behalf of Business Without Borders, Digital Pilipinas, and Geyser Maclang Marketing Communications, Inc., I would like to welcome all of you to the official press launch of Business Without Borders. This morning, we'll hear from a distinguished roster of trailblazing leaders and speakers from the government, our partners in Singapore, and the private sector. This press launch you're attending this morning is a part of a series of discussions under the Digital Pilipinas banner that seeks to address various national issues with the aid of emerging technology. In this particular case, Business Without Borders is all about taking up our entrepreneurs and businesses as far as e-commerce and e-retail is concerned. It's all about expanding the Filipino brand and company into other regions beyond their hometown. And then after that, going international to other countries. Business Without Borders finally is about making Filipino products dominate in our own e-commerce scene, wherein right now foreign companies are actually leading it. To speak more about this, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for the day. She's an award-winning brand architect, risk crisis reputation strategist, movement maker, and marketing communications innovator. As an internationally awarded champion of marketing as a force for good, her projects demonstrate that one can hit business goals while still doing good for the country. She is a champion of technology, digital transformation, and innovation. May I introduce the convener of Digital Pilipinas, Ms. Amor Maclang. Ms. Maclang, good morning.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Good morning to our friends both in the Philippines and also in Singapore as well. Maraming salamat, Chino. Before I get started, I would really and share with you what the advocacy of Business Without Borders is. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the fact that this advocacy is really the sum of many parts of your own advocacy. And I really would like to start with the vision of two leaders and two governments. First and foremost is, of course, the Department of Trade and Industry. So under the auspices of Secretary Mon Lopez, and even prior to him being appointed, as I dare say, probably the most important DTI secretary we've ever had. He's been championing MSMEs, and as early as 2013, he supported us with our Eureka movement, which was really intended to get many MSMEs into the digital space. Of course, I would be very remiss if I did not acknowledge three pioneering women in both the MSME and in the financing space. Executive Director Nelly Deliera, who even during our time meandering all over Mindanao would always tell me, at the end of the day, it's about the entrepreneurs. How do we help them be recognized? So we really are grateful, Executive Director Nelly, for the opportunity to serve the country through PTTC. And two of our government financing mamas, I would like to acknowledge President Luna Cacanando of SB Corp. So all of you MSMEs out there who are listening and need the kind of support from the government, the training from the DTI, and the financing also from the DTI, we give a very empowered shout out to Ma'am Luna of SB Corp. Last but not the least, I would also like to acknowledge Miss and our president of the official digital bank of the Philippines, President Leila Martin of OF Bank, who's not only championing OFWs all over the world, but more importantly, their families and all digital Filipinos everywhere. Now, this vision for Pinoy MSMEs was clearly matched by the global and regional vision of our principals from Singapore. I take special exception to the chief CFTO, Sop Mohanty of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, who, aside from being a legend in the fintech space, is actually creating a lot of roads and a lot of runways for MSMEs, not just in ASEAN, but for the rest of the world to take part in a global economy. and championing this particular platform, because it's all about platforms. The digital economy is all about platform building. I would like to take exception to the presence of Deputy Director for Banking, Mr. Eugene Go of the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Thank you for allowing me to steal the idea of getting our entrepreneurs to trade beyond borders. Thank you so much, Eugene. Now, Business Without Borders is a prime example of private-public partnership. We talked about the governments who don't act like a government, but act more like a startup and act more like an entrepreneur. And I say that with the highest regards. But I also would like to mention today the people who inspired this particular movement. And I would like to start with a longtime e-commerce ally and one of my idols, one of the most unheralded people in Philippine e-commerce, Mr. Cons Roberts. From the time we met a few years ago, Cons, I knew you were going to change the landscape in e-commerce. So I am so grateful and I'm so thankful for all that you do for the country. Next is Mr. Jay Villarante of Secuna, who promised to help all of our entrepreneurs, all 5,000 we hope to graduate at least for this quarter, to be cyber secure and to be cyber defended. How could we not forget the pioneering work of two people in the e-commerce space? Mr. Dick Chang, one of the founding fathers of e-commerce in the country and definitely the kuya for fintech in the country. Maraming salamat. And I'm very, very pleased to also introduce our bright young star in e-commerce, Miss Kim Lato, who at the age of 15 years ago, founded Kim Store, the legendary Kim Store. We admit it, we all have an experience buying from Kim Store. She's now the largest technology vertical in the country for e-commerce, representing our belief in digital and brand Pilipinas, which is to create more Filipino-oriented platforms in the country. Last but not the least, is my evergreen partner and my inspiration for everything for the country, Mr. Robin Padilla. Where do I begin? Of course, everyone here knows you as the biggest kuya and biggest utol of the entire country, but to me, you were always an advocate. And we're so grateful that you have lent your star power and your presence for free, if I may just say, in order to champion all the Filipino brands out there. Later, I can't wait for him to talk about how he's now helping a Malunggay entrepreneur, a Moringa entrepreneur, and many others all over the country. So, Business Without Borders, in a nutshell, and I will share that with you later, is essentially a coming together of two governments, the biggest players in technology and in the e-commerce sector, all wanting to help our MSMEs from the smallest all the way down to legacy entrepreneurs who, if they do not tech up, will be unfortunately left behind. And on this note, I would like to turn it over to Chino, but without me saying mabuhay at maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po ang mga negosyante at ang mga entrepreneur na Filipino. Salamat po.
Thank you so much, Ms. Maclang. We have seen the vision and heard the challenges. Our next keynote speaker is a distinguished member of our government who will speak about the efforts of our national leaders in digitizing and teching up our businesses. Please welcome our keynote speaker, Secretary Ramon Lopez of the Department of Trade and Industry. Everyone, please welcome Secretary Lopez.
Mr. Sopnendu Mohanty of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, Mr. Eugene Go, Mr. Shirish Jain of Roxterra, Monetary Authority of Singapore, to our Executive Director, Nelly Diliera, of the PTTC, President Luna Cacanando of the Small Business Corporation, President Laila Martin, OF Bank of the DOF, to our partner, Mr. Robin Padilla, Ms. Amor Maclang of the Digital Pilipinas Convener, fellow workers in government, friends from the private sector, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to you all. First of all, allow me to thank the Philippine Trade Training Center and the organizers, the Digital Pilipinas Convener, the MAS, for inviting us to speak at this Business Without Borders, Uplifting Philippine SMEs and E-Retail. Its goal of creating global runways for our Pinoy MSMEs through digital and cross-border cooperation is indeed very timely amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Sometime before this entire pandemic, PTTC had met the team of Sopnendu Mohanty of the MAS to discuss a program designed for SMEs called Business Sans Borders, where we talked about the pain points of the MSMEs globally. We are happy to see the conclusion of this project with our champions for MSMEs, both PTTC and the Small Business Corporation, together with Digital Pilipinas. This program is intended to enable at least 5,000 Pinoy SMEs and e-retailers this year to trade beyond our borders and equip them with the necessary skills needed. In the wake of the health crisis, we have seen more and more MSMEs shift to e-commerce platform in order for their businesses not only to stay afloat, but to thrive and prosper. Since mid-March of 2020, when lockdowns were first imposed in the country, we have recorded more than 109,345 business name registrations for online businesses. Despite the immense impact of the pandemic to our businesses, we are fully confident in the adaptability of our local businesses. Sitting at a demographic sweet spot of 25.7 years old, our young population not only is able to learn quickly, but also very tech-savvy and tech-oriented amid a rapidly expanding digital world. Not only this, we have high mobile phone connections at 152 million, and that's about 138% mobile penetration, making the Philippines the social media capital of the world with 89 million active social media users. As of January this year, according to Global Social Media Use Ranking, the Philippines ranked 6th in Facebook, 10th in YouTube, 11th in Twitter, and 18th in Instagram. And all these numbers present a very strong potential to be converted into e-commerce transactions. Manila also joins other Asian cities on the list of 30 top startup ecosystems in the Global Startup Ecosystem Report released this year, 2021. This number can only grow as the country gets to implement more and more public and private investments in digital superhighways and infrastructures. Likewise, just the other day, we spoke at the launch of the Google's Economic Impact in the Philippines report, where it was reported that digital transformation could create up to 5 trillion pesos in annual economic value by 2030. That's about 25% of the size of the Philippine economy. Here in the DTI, we have numerous programs that can assist our micro SMEs in their digital journey to become global. These include capacity building and training workshops that are readily available online, offered by the hardworking team of the PTTC, together with our private sector partners, as well as in the different regional offices of the DTI. You may also get advice on how to start your own business from our business counselors from over 1,200 negosyo centers scattered across all regions in the country. For those wanting to set up small sari-sari stores or any related business, DTI provides livelihood kits of retail goods to help you kickstart your journey. And for our micro SMEs who already have over a year of experience in running their businesses and would need extra financial assistance, we also have the COVID-19 assistance to restart Enterprises or CARES program at DTI's microfinancing arm, the SB Corporation. The CARES program offers loans with no collateral requirement at zero interest rate and with a grace period of up to 12 months, thus helping businesses get back on their feet. These are just among the many programs that DTI has to offer as we show our continued commitment in assisting our micro SMEs in every step of their entrepreneurship journey. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte echoed this concern for micro SMEs during his last State of the Nation address when he described micro SMEs as being vital to economic activity, job creation, and poverty reduction. Thus, you can be confident of the President's full support as he always has the MSMEs in his heart, from the tech-savvy online local business to the eager and aspiring entrepreneur. He wants to help them all. Once again, congratulations to PTTC in the virtual launch of the Business Without Borders, and thank you to all our partners from the private sector to the entrepreneurs here with us today. We wish you all the best in your adventure as you go global. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you so much for that wonderful message, Secretary Lopez. Our next keynote speaker is a dear friend and colleague who is fully aware of the potentials and capabilities that the Philippines has when it comes to building e-commerce and its platforms. Please welcome the Chief FinTech Officer of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, Mr. Supnendu Mohanty.
Good morning, everybody. Secretary Lopez, Director Nilera, Ms. Mackland, and distinguished guests, good morning. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the launch of Business Sans Border, or Business Without Borders. Today, we are on the cusp of a connectivity revolution in ASEAN, Greater Asia, and Africa and beyond. In the space of 1 year, digitization of the economy reached the level previously expected for 2020, 2025, or 2030. So a lot has happened during pandemic. And this gave rise to opportunities for digital businesses and also made it very challenging for traditional businesses. The opportunity that the digital world presents have to occupy all our minds as businesses as well as governments. FinTech and other digital solutions are becoming more mature and accessible, yet there is no common resource to bridge the gaps for the average SMEs to choose wisely and seamlessly adopt. Southeast Asia is one of the largest growing economic regions globally. Philippines itself has been experiencing good growth, although the recent impact of COVID is an opportunity to elevate this growth engines for organic, for wider, sustainable, and longer-term benefits for the Philippine economy. Some of the statistics are truly outstanding when it comes to the opportunity. Southeast Asia is by far the fastest growing economic regions globally, combined GDP of US $2.77 trillion, 646 million people, and 1/5 of global FDI flow. Southeast Asia e-commerce activity generated US $26 billion in transaction volumes in 2019. Philippines economic growth was steady until COVID, 6.5% to 2018. And during COVID, it dropped to 4.7%. And it is forecasted to go back to close to 6% by 2022 and beyond 6% and above. Philippines has a massive unbanked population around its 7,500 islands. Over 2/3 of the adult population do require a lot of banking services. And Philippine SMEs are quite vibrant. Almost 99% of the registered businesses provide 60% of Philippines economic in the Philippine economic conditions. The jobs for a lot of people back in Philippines been experiencing very good growth. Although the recent impact of COVID is an opportunity to elevate these growth engines for organic, for wider, sustainable, and longer-term benefit for the Philippine economy. Some of the statistics are truly outstanding. Southeast Asia is the fastest growing economic regions globally. The combined GDP of close to $3 trillion, 646 million people, and 1/5 of global FDI inflow truly speaks to the volume of opportunity in Southeast Asia. Philippines in particular has grown a lot in this space, and after COVID, they're expected to get back to previous levels very soon. And Philippines has a huge opportunity to extend its banking services to a lot of its population. And when it comes to smaller businesses, Philippines has almost 900,000 plus SMEs and micro SMEs in Philippines, who provide 60% of all jobs in Philippine market. And as Philippines make the transition to a greater financial and digital trade inclusion through e-commerce, Singapore companies and Philippine companies are also working together very closely to develop common solutions, and which is a real testament to the close friendship between Philippines and Singapore. Some of the statistics around the Philippines-Singapore corridor is outstanding. Singapore is Philippines' #1 ASEAN export market, and Singapore is Philippines' #1 international investor. And if my numbers are correct, we have invested close to $3.5 billion in Philippines market. So Philippines is a very attractive market for many investors, and between Singapore and Philippines, there's a long history of strong, close relationship over 50 years. Recently, I was very, very glad to hear that the Philippines Union Bank opened a fintech headquarters in Singapore, and which truly reflects the direction at which the two countries are working together closely. There's a lot of trust, a lot of partnership, a lot of compatibility, cultural values we share with Philippines is truly making this partnership something bigger in future. And a new fintech solution from Singapore, such as Tonic, is also looking to build a digital-only bank in Philippines and have recently received a banking license from BSP. MAS has also identified the growth of digital economy and new digital solutions coming to the market in a big way. And so we started something in response to that, a very game-changing initiative called Business Sans Border, simply called BSB. The vision is to create an open digital hub for business platforms, trade associations, government bodies, financial services, and other services providers to drive trade, financial inclusion, empowerment, and innovation for the benefit of the SMEs. Proxtera, which is a private entity, which subsequently came forward to help actualize the open vision of the BSB initiative, and we welcome as a new partner to this program, and it has also extended its reach to Philippines market by onboarding a lot of players from Philippines to its platform. Proxtera is a one-stop hub to allow B2B and e-commerce platforms to connect to a new global buy and sell trade options and new financial and non-financial services to complete their trade journey while enhancing their businesses without ever actually having to leave the platform. So a very comprehensive services, not only matching the businesses, also providing digital services from logistic to legal services to transportation and to different and also referring good solutions for trade. Since the beginning of 2021, Proxtera has grown very rapidly, and in fact, we have, as I got to know that the Proxtera has now more countries in pipeline to come as part of the whole network connectivity. I look forward to the closer and active participation between MAS, DTI, and Digital Filipinas to create this series of compelling programs in our workshops to help Philippines e-commerce platforms and SMEs reach more global trade opportunities, essential financial services, important tech upgrading skills via collaboration with Proxtera. Now is truly the time to help our businesses to reach a new world without borders, truly riding on the remarkable technology and the platforms it comes with. Now is truly the time to help our businesses to to reach a new world without borders. I think with tech and the progress tech is making, it is easier for both countries to come together and build this collaboration, build this connectivity. And of course, Proxtera is there to help that process, but there are other avenues to connect. I strongly encourage both countries to work together, and I'm really looking forward to this partnership going over months and months to a bigger opportunity. Thanks for hearing me, and I look forward to other sessions for the day.
Thank you very much, Sir Mohanty. Our next keynote speaker is committed to uplifting small and medium enterprises all over the world with the power of digital networks, leveraging on modern technology to improve accessibility, availability, and affordability of innovative digital services. Please welcome Mr. Shirish Jain of Proxtera.
Good morning, everyone. It's an absolute immense honor and pleasure to be here. It was amazing to hear from Secretary Lopez and then CFTO Sop a short while ago, and then Ms. McClung as well, about the passion and the opportunity that stand before us in digitalizing and specifically digitalizing our SMEs. As we all know, SMEs globally are the most cornerstone of our economic engine in any country, providing almost 70 to 80% of employment, contributing to up to 2/3 or even more of gross domestic production. It's an ecosystem that must thrive, and we must do everything possible. And in that regards, it is absolutely inevitable for SMEs to be on digital agenda, be fully digitalized, and start to benefit their reach beyond their neighborhood and start to address the opportunity and benefit from it, both domestically in the country as well as globally. And in that regards, we are delighted to be here as Proxtera. Like you said in the introduction, Proxtera is championed by MAS and IMDA, the two Singapore-based regulators, as well as we are a Singapore-based company with some private investors behind. Our purpose is to bring the world to you, the SMEs, and we do that by working with the platforms. Let's hear about Neha. She could be similar to a sari store owner in Philippines somewhere. And as a sundry store owner, she sources her products, let's say milk. And what has happened with COVID, we know world over, and we still continue to face it in terms of disruption of the supply chain where you can buy and sell or procure your goods from. And she is finding difficulty to obtain particular type of milk. And once she is digital, her ability to source goods have expanded. And using Proxtera, she is now able to source not just milk, but different kind of milk powder, for example, and other products. So she's able to serve her customers better and bring more choices to them. In addition, she may be able to find some of these products at a cheaper price. She's able to bring her profit margin up, or she's able to use the digital documentation that is created along with it to find low-cost financing. Voluntary working with Proxtera, it opens up an immense level of opportunities for SMEs everywhere. And we do that without making them leave their primary platform. And I'll speak about it shortly. So just about Proxtera, like I said, business sans borders or business without borders. Our vision and purpose is to digitalize and connect SMEs everywhere. We do that by being a neutral intermediary. We are a headless platform of platforms. We connect all the B2B marketplaces and platforms that exist today. We already have a few in Philippines, and we'll talk about that shortly. We also bring a number of services that are required by SMEs and built for SMEs, be it financial services products such as payments, remittances, payments protection, or ancillary services, which may be shipping and handling, or other similar kind that an SME may require if they want to use through their platform of marketplace. We have strong ambition. A lot of our ideas are already there, and we are building a lot more ideas. So we are constantly expanding our reach, new services. So please do keep in touch with us so that you can understand how our progress is. And we love to hear from you. Now, as a neutral hub, what's most core for Proxtera is if you are a sari store owner who's working with a particular platform in Philippines, let's say Burkit, Easy Fulfill, or UV Global Linker. Those three are already connected into Proxera. When you use and search a product or list a product, for all the actions and experience, you never leave that platform. We extend our services using the same glass that our SME will use, using the primary platform they have. And that is how we create value to the platforms that are connecting into Proxera, by bringing them demand, by bringing them new capabilities, and also strengthening their customer primacy, because we are giving services that other platforms may not be able to do. We have 4 simple principles that we abide by, and we are able to deliver all those things that I just mentioned about. We lower barrier for SMEs to connect and be participative in the global trade flow. And we do that by them having to use one platform that they choose, and they get to access every market that Proxera brings in. For our platforms, we have standardized trade documents. So it's easy for you to expand into other countries once you're connected with Proxera. We have very simple APIs. The QR code next to me on the screen, you can use it there. Our APIs are publicly available, and it's as simple as it gets to connect with Proxera. Use those APIs, expand your interface, and there you go. And then we are constantly bringing new services. In the beginning of the year, we launched payment protection. Recently, we launched payment remittances for business-to-business style payments. And then we are working on some other exciting products. We already have partnership with shipping and handling companies if you require their support in order to fulfill your trade. So how does it work? And like I said, a SME, whether you're a buyer or a seller, never leaves their primary platform. We extend all the services, including publication, discovery of trade, demand matching, supplier matching, trade documentation, whether it's purchase order, whether it is goods shipping, whether it's goods receipt, it's invoice management, it's invoice remittance and invoice settlement. Everything is made available to you as a platform, as a bunch of APIs. So what happens is the orange circles you see, which are SMEs across different markets, one in India and one in Philippines, for example. The person buying in India for a Filipino dried mango product, for example, can search through without having to leave their India platform, because there is a supplier on a Filipino platform that is already connected to Proxera, and their goods are discoverable and their services are discoverable. And that's the benefit of Proxera. If Proxera didn't exist today, if a Filipino SME, if they want to sell in different countries, they will have to set up their accounts and their stores in n number of stores, marketplaces in each country. And that's a friction we are taking out. Once your platform is connected to Proxera, you literally get expansion of your reach every time Proxera connects to a new market. So overnight, we welcomed our youngest platform into our network in India, and that brings in a few more thousand buyers and sellers into our network. And that SME platform is reachable by whole of Proxera network without even lifting the finger. So we do that hard yard to expand your network by being connected to Proxera. So once you join to Proxera, that is opting into your marketplace and platform, you can search and list your products, you can trade, you can track your trade orders and everything within your platform, and you can provide feedback. And this feedback is also one of the areas we use when we provide for training our AI and machine learning tools so that we can provide most appropriate search response. We already have built-in capabilities such as when somebody searches for coffee, but makes a typo, K-O-F-E instead of C-O-F-F-E, we can still return them the results for coffee. And this search experience will continue to get better as we start to see more and more people used to it. So like I mentioned about, we are already live in a number of countries. Of course, in Singapore being our home market, we have 4 partners. Southeast Asia, we have 3 in Philippines. Very happy and very pleased about it. And we are looking to see some more coming in from this conversation. We are in Indonesia, in Malaysia. We have 4 platforms in India. And then we have a large footprint in sub-Saharan Africa, specifically originating out of Ghana and Rwanda, which gives us almost a pan-Africa presence. And we are expanding into new markets and new platforms all the time. So from a goods perspective, we typically see a lot of movements in consumer goods, food and beverages, office supplies, medical supplies, mostly non-regulated space, construction supplies, manufacturing goods, and chemical supplies. And we are expanding to new category of suppliers all the time. So this list will continue to grow over time. And here's a view around services that we already have live for availability to the SMEs who are connected to marketplaces that are Proxera enabled. So if you're a Proxera enabled marketplace, you have access to payments escrow, which helps you mitigate the risk of buyer or supplier non-performance based on which side of the trade you are sitting. You can manage cross-border remittances on a very attractive economical terms, as well as without the complication of moving between different platforms. So all through a single window. And then if you have trade fulfillment needs for Proxera related trades, you can use our network of logistics and fulfillment suppliers. And we'll be more than happy to have a chat with you how some of these services can be useful to expand capabilities of your own e-commerce marketplace for SMEs. So that's where I didn't want to take you through a lot of slides, but we will absolutely welcome you to learn more about us by visiting our website. If you want to learn about how to connect to our APIs, that's a QR code in the middle. And we have put on a number of videos, including the one about Neha that we spoke about first in slides, and some more from our other market conversations that may provide you more guidance and help with what Proxera is able to do here. So with that, we look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to expand our footprint in Philippines and have more SMEs in Philippines trade through and benefit with Proxera. And I yield my time back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Sarish. And now we've come to one of the more interesting parts of our program. We have heard from our speakers, and now we go into detail on how we and our speakers can actually launch the Business Without Borders campaign. We have with us panelists who will be interacting with our speakers and answering some of your questions. They are the game changers in their respective fields, such as online payments, digital retail, digital banking, e-commerce platforms, and cybersecurity, just to name a few. It is my pleasure to introduce to them. DragonPay provides secure online payment solutions that will allow your business to accept payments and or send out payouts in the Philippines. Let me introduce the CEO of DragonPay, Mr. Dick Chang. King Store, which elevates online shopping of gadgets all over the country to a more convenient and seamless experience. We have with us the CEO and founder of Kim Store, Ms. Kim Lato. We are honored to have a representative from the Monetary Authority of Singapore, the Deputy Director for Banking, Mr. Eugene Go. OF Bank, the overseas Filipino bank that provides more security and easy transactions for the millions of our fellow countrymen who are living overseas as well as their families. We have the president, Ms. Leila Martin. We have from Locad, the cloud logistics network that fulfills e-commerce orders for entrepreneurs and enterprises. We have our CEO, Mr. Cons Roberts. We also have Sikuna, who is the biggest and most trusted cybersecurity testing platform in the Philippines, helping startups and SMEs by connecting them to the most advanced and highly vetted cybersecurity professionals in the world to simulate cyber attacks and find security flaws that real-world malicious hackers can exploit and leverage. We have our president and we have our chairman, Mr. Jay Villarante. And last but definitely not the least, we have someone who is very well known to the public and even regarded as a hero in many of our communities. He's a fighter by heart and has championed the plight of Filipino businesses. Let's all welcome Mr. Robin Padilla. To moderate the panel, let's welcome back Miss Amor Maclang.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I think for starters, Chino, I would like to, before I acknowledge everyone's immense contribution, everyone has a specific voice in this program. Allow me to just explain very quickly what the Business Without Borders program is. And I hear a little cons on my shoulder saying, don't just do talks, don't just do webinars. It has to be a program that will enable people end to end. So please, if you'd allow me to just walk you through a few slides. Thank you. So as was shared earlier by both the Department of Trade and Industry and also at the same time by the government of Singapore through the MAS, the ultimate holy grail for any businesses, whether you're a startup or you're already a seasoned retailer, is to really trade beyond your borders. So whether that border is outside of Sultan Kudarat or outside of your region in Mindanao or outside of your country, that is our ultimate objective. Next slide, please. So I won't repeat this particular statistic, next slide, which has been emphasized at great length by both Chief Technology Officer Sop Mohanty and also Secretary Lopez. But really the true secret sauce for everyone to scale up is both technology and also payments. Next slide. Next. Now, there are actually 3 quick things that we hope to be able to do in this particular advocacy, which kicks off this quarter, but will continue on as a 365-day advocacy for e-commerce for Filipinos and by Filipinos in 2022. We want to be able to connect everyone and get everyone speaking in one or even multiple platforms. And by platforms, following the vision of many of you is really to have more Filipino by Filipino platforms. How do we unleash the moving of money safely and more importantly with trust? Next slide. So this program has only been made possible because of the support of all the conveners here. We thank SB Corp and also SB Corp, who's been championing all the MSMEs, 3 million, size 3 million pesos and below. LOCAD, and even prior in his earlier life, founder Cons Roberts has really been championing getting more and more Pinoy e-commerce superstars. And later he will talk about that at greater length. In terms of education and also championing women and the youth, we have a champion in Miss Kim Lato of Kim Store. And together with her, she believes
Hi, Amor. I think we can't hear you. Hi, Amor. We can't hear you po.
hello.
There we go. Thank you, Amor. We just couldn't hear you
Wow.
for 30 seconds, for around 30 seconds.
Just 30 seconds, that's fine. So we thank the two governments, the two runways of both the government and also of Singapore and the Philippines. Chief Technology Officer Sop Mohanty talked about our very special relationship. But I think that relationship is not just for Singapore, but rather a more regional and also a global runway that the MAS is creating. Last but not the least, and we will hear from him later, Mr. Robin Padilla, right? He's a hero to many small MSMEs, and we're so grateful that you lent us your firepower and superstar power to help champion MSMEs. Next slide, please. So we're looking at championing 5 particular categories. So regardless of your scale, whether you are below 4 million or you're an OFW looking into starting your own business, whether for your family or wherever you're currently located. In the spirit of inclusion, women and youth will have a special voice in this advocacy. All retailers from 4 million and up will find a way to be empowered through the various platforms that we have here. So regardless of where you are, there is a specific track for you to go digital and to go global. Next slide. Next slide, please. Before we wrap up, I wanted to just share with you our last quarter push for MSMEs. November being, as Secretary Mon said, the month of entrepreneurs and the month of startups. And of course, all over the world, it's the month for FinTech, all converging in the Singapore FinTech Festival. So from today, all the way up to the 3rd week of November, we will be aggressively recruiting many of the MSMEs from all over the Philippines. And then we are going to work on a 1-week track for all of you. And I'm very excited to share with you that we are on our way to be plugged into the Oxygen platform of the Monetary Authority of Singapore for learning. Wherein all our MSMEs, if they so choose, can top up and get a certificate that is certified by the National University of Singapore and Affinity. And it will be on the blockchain, so you never lose your accreditation. So thank you once again for the Philippines is going to be the first country outside of Singapore to launch this program. Last but not the least, and I will leave it to our mama of the PTTC, Executive Director, Ma'am Nelly, who will also join us in the panel to talk about our awards. So I'd like to thank all of our conveners for making the specific awards possible.
Hi, Amor. I think we can't hear you. Audio problem.
Let's get the show on the road, Chino.
All right.
Start the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. May I invite all our speakers to go on camera so we can invite everyone. Thank you. Amor, I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Cons, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to start off with you because even before I met Dick and Kim, you were really my first ever experience with an e-commerce champion. And at that time, although everyone was talking, am I at liberty to share that you're one of the secret sauces of Zalora? There, I already outed you. I'm sorry. But you've always been at the back end, right? And while everyone talks excitedly about the storefront, the real secret to e-commerce is really what happens at the back end. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you do at Lokad, what your vision is for Pinoy e-commerce superstars, and how you intend to actually take many of our MSMEs regional? Cons?
Yeah, thanks so much, Amor, for bringing us all together today and for the warm introduction. I think what we've seen in e-commerce happening over the last 8-10 years is that the storefront of running a business and showing your products to the country, to the world, has actually been democratized like never before for SMEs. Because if you look at traditional retail, right, the kind of traffic you get in the mall always depends on where's your position in the mall, where's your position in the jungle. And that one is somehow always distributed in a hierarchical way. You don't get your store in the prime position of a new mall if you're a new merchant. But online, this is entirely different. In a marketplace, if you're having a great product at a good price and people are buying, people are converting, to use the e-commerce lingo, your products are being shown more and more and more. So suddenly you are in the prime spot in the mall, even if in the online mall and the e-commerce platform, even if you're an SME. And similarly, platforms like Shopify have made it easier than ever for essentially anyone with very limited budget and with skills that can be self-taught to set up a really great online store. Honestly, what you can do today in Shopify, spending a couple of $100 on a freelancer looks better than what we went to market with at Zalora. And we had like a lot of people on tech, right? Like the world has just democratized when it comes to setting up your online store in a fantastic way. And of course, the same is happening across payments and so on. But what we have seen holding back businesses growing outside of their immediate city, their home area, especially growing outside of the borders, is what happens after the customer clicks order now, which is the whole logistics, because that one has not been democratized at all. If you want to set this up yourself today, you need to rent a warehouse, you need to hire people, you need to get systems in place. All of this costs a ton of money and has actually not gotten cheaper. It's actually gotten more expensive, because what you need today to run the e-commerce supply chain requires more technology and more sophistication than a typical B2B supply chain. And that's what we wanted to change with Lowcut by creating a platform that essentially provides the entire back-end infrastructure of running a business as a service without a barrier, right? So we call it the logistics cloud, and this essentially means that you get access to world-class fulfillment, access to a tech platform that connects any sales channel, Lazada, Shopee, Shopify, Zalora, whatever you want, so that you can make your one pool of stock, your one pool of inventory available to any sales channel that you want to collect. You have access to world-class fulfillment that is always same day, and that is completely pay as you go. You just pay us, say, 12 pesos per item, and you factor that into your pricing, and that's it. And you get access to a network of shipping carriers that are already integrated at preferential rates that you can ship within Metro Manila, within the Philippines. You can ship to the States, you can ship anywhere. And then as the next step, we're bringing this network, which is launched in the Philippines, we're bringing this across Southeast Asia. Recently launched our fulfillment centers in Singapore, in Australia, and Hong Kong. And as an MSME with no more than 10,000-15,000 pesos a month subscription, you now have access to a warehouse in Singapore, a warehouse in Hong Kong, a warehouse in Australia if you want, and you connect to the sales channels that are popular there, right? Still your Shopify, but also on Amazon or what. So ultimately, the idea is bringing that democratization of e-commerce that has already happened on the storefront, in the front of the house, with marketplaces and with platforms like Shopify, and bringing that all the way to the back end and the nitty-gritty world of supply chain, and making that available with a very accessible plan.
Thank you so much for demystifying that, because everyone just seems to focus on the storefront without really understanding that instead of just being on a storefront, you need to have your own storefront. You need to be able to plug into without having to be dependent on. And one of the things I'd like to focus now on our e-commerce, one of our e-commerce superstars. Before the word e-commerce was probably that popular, Miss Kim Lato, 18 years old. Oh my God, you make us feel all like underachievers, okay? Kim, you started this 18 years ago. Eugene, I'm telling you, this is Team Philippines who's going to join Proxtera very soon. Kim, you started at 18, right? And even your dad said, it cannot be done. 15 years after, you're here standing, the biggest vertical storefront in the Philippines. Tell us about your story.
Okay, so I started the business when I was 18 years old. I was just a college student. I just came across Amazon. I saw a particular lens, and then I thought of having the same idea or concept of putting up an online store in the Philippines. That time, 2006, it was an untapped industry. It was an untapped opportunity. So by just following your passion, everybody, I think, know the journey from 2006 to 2021. We built a very strong, from an online setup business, Kim Store has become a corporate brand.
Thank you. And you're celebrating your 15th year anniversary and you're ready to take it regional, right? So amongst all our family here, you're the youngest. Cons, we used to be, I'm sorry, but now we now have Kim. Speaking of which, one of the things that I really am proud of is how one of our conveners here actually enabled you. So
Yes.
the founder, right? Yes, we are trying to make him as old as he sounds. No, sorry, this is a private joke. He knows he's being referred to. Kuya Dick Chang, right? Of DragonPay, most number of doors, pioneering fintech in the Philippines, and a kuya for us in e-commerce and also in payments. You are probably the quiet force that has really allowed for payments to move around in e-commerce. Being the founder of DCOM, right? So how come, even as early as more than a decade ago, you already believed that e-commerce was the future when no one else did?
Well, actually, to be very honest, I sort of stumbled into it by accident as well. It wasn't really the intention to go down that route. I was in a totally different industry. Well, in the internet industry, but nowhere in e-commerce. And and I guess I was just groping in the dark, and just so happened that I saw an opportunity. And we basically took hold of it, and that came in at an opportune time. That was the time that all these daily deal sites started popping up. So the Cash Pinoy, the Insogo, and the Metro Deal, and that's when things really picked up locally. And I think that's when people started to get to understanding, or at least trying out e-commerce. Because prior to that, the only things that people could really buy online were, like hotel bookings or airline bookings. There was nothing interesting or nothing. There were no small ticket items that people can try, like a restaurant deal or a spa deal, which would only cost a couple of hundred pesos. So a lot of people didn't really try it until these daily deal sites came to the market. And of course, that's when we also started working with the marketplaces. And you mentioned with Cons, back then with Zalora, and of course, Kim with Kim Store. So over the years, we've been very fortunate that we've gotten, we've been introduced to all these different wonderful players and have become part of this wonderful ecosystem.
Right? It's such a friendly community. I mean, like literally, we are a family here. We can just pick up the phone and call each other and find a way to get us connected. And now I think our joint objective is really to bring it outside of the Philippines, no matter the size of the business. Now, show me the money. That's always the battle cry. And we are very, very proud that we have here the official digital bank of the country. So the US has 10, Europe has 15. I'm sorry, but we in Asia, the future of open finance and banking in the country is truly Asian. The standard bearer of the Philippines for digital banking is no other than President Leila. Ma'am, your vision is to really get prosperity circulating amongst many of our OFWs and their families and Filipinos in general. How do you feel? How are you processing this immense pressure coming from the Secretary of Finance, with you being our standard bearer for digital banking in the country?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Amor. Let me put forward my thoughts on the subject generally on the, digitalization, especially on the entrepreneurship and e-commerce front. As articulated by our DTI Secretary, pandemic definitely ushered in a lot of challenges globally, but it presented a lot of opportunities as well. Foremost of which is in the area of e-commerce, as mentioned by Kim and Robertson as well. Many of us embrace the latest mobile technologies and are happily discovering the ease and convenience of shopping and paying online, among other things. We also continue to see a surge in entrepreneurship as workers who were laid off has to find means to feed the family and thus resorted to setting up their own businesses. These startups then try to respond in turn to consumer demand by looking for a good platform to sell, deliver, and get paid for their goods or services. I may say that some that appreciate technology and as the means to do so were able to put up their own online stores. But there are still many that were not able to and thus are behind in terms of visibility in the digital space. This is especially true, Amor, to women micro entrepreneurs in the Philippines who do not have the capacity to set up their own online store. And adding to their woes is that they are part of the unbanked population. These are parents, mother, brothers, sisters, father of OFWs. Let me provide a specific example, that of the Escaparate.com, founded by a good friend, Joey Bermudez, a veteran banker and one of the banking industry leader in SME. The Escaparate.com is an online platform for entrepreneurial mothers to showcase their products inspired by the idea of a tiangge or a local market where stalls are right beside each other, selling a variety of products and where the buyer and seller get to share their stories in the process. The platform calls its members nanay, the Filipino term for mother, while escaparate is the organic term for showcase. When Escaparate went online, the first batch of members are mothers of OFWs whose age ranges from 45 to 60 years old, who are in the business of selling rice cakes, goat cheeses, native baskets, and other Philippine produce. They are unbanked and mostly sells in markets pre-pandemic. And at the start of the pandemic, they sell mostly from home. And their income was greatly reduced. They have this natural fear of technology. They have no access to an online selling platform and lack knowledge on digital payments as well. With Escaparate, access to an online platform was made possible. And these micro entrepreneurs are now showcasing their products online. What is needed next is financial inclusion. To this, we at OF Bank are paying attention and responding to provide them the tools to participate in e-commerce. OF Bank is guarding these micro entrepreneurs. We assist in providing financial literacy programs and onboarding them in the OF Bank's merchant ecosystem as well. From the initial 33 members, Escaparate now has more than 100 members, which now include even the fathers and their adult children. Together, Escaparate and OF Bank are finding ways in digitalizing not only the businesses, but the lives of entrepreneurial Filipinos as well. And this is the most important. And it would be exciting to see the platform expand, linked to an international e-commerce highway, possibly like that of the Proxtera, and provide the full benefit to both buyers and sellers. Let me end, Amor, by saying we at OF Bank recognize the opportunity to create strong partnerships. And thus we look forward to collaborations with more partners in the government and private sectors as we build an enabling, inclusive e-commerce ecosystems for OFWs and all other segments of our population under the holistic approach of business without borders. Thank you, Amor.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't know how we would be able to do this without your help and all of our co-conveners who've all agreed to take on and champion a particular track. We'll get back to you guys in a bit. But the scary thing right now is that with all of these borders opening up is security, right? And we know that the Philippines is currently in the FATF gray list for top cyber crimes and vulnerabilities. So on that note, Jay, how do you intend to actually create an arena of greater trust, and what can you do for MSMEs in Business Without Borders?
Hi, Amor. Thank you for inviting me here. Good morning, everyone. I'm representing Sikuna right now, and I actually started doing business as a crypto entrepreneur. Being a crypto entrepreneur, I need my assets to be secured, and so we formed a team within our group that does cybersecurity. And my co-founder approached me one day and told me my website has a vulnerability. He found a way to hack it, and so we fixed it. Here in the Philippines, normally a company would sue the guy who found the vulnerability, but we want to normalize this, where the tipster, the one who found the bug, will be rewarded. And so we found Sikuna together with my co-founder, and we created a platform where we have right now we have enlisted more than 1,000 ethical hackers, and we do due diligence on them, and we are registered, certified by the DICT, Department of Information Communications Technology, and right now we have many clients that are using the platform, and we started with just our own companies using it, but now we also opened it up to other companies, and hopefully we will have more MSMEs to join our platform as well.
Yes, definitely. And now with Business Without Borders, you can probably extend this advocacy outside of the Philippines. Thank you so much. Now, everyone is wanting to hear from Robin, but before we do so, we wouldn't be here if the runway for regional was not created for us out of Singapore. Basically, Eugene, thank you for joining us. Please do share with us, what do you see are the universal pain points that Proxtera helps address? And how do you see us moving forward here in the Philippines together?
Thank you, Amor, and good morning to everyone. Great to meet everyone on this wonderful morning. I think there was a lot of good points raised by all the other panelists. I think especially like Leila's point that with the current pandemic, there were a lot of challenges, but it was also a lot of opportunities. And then I think as MES, as we built this initiative, the Business Without Borders and Proxtera, I think we also spoke with a lot of governments. And the downside they had with COVID was it disrupted a lot of global supply chains. Traditionally, supplies to their countries where they traditionally sought supplies. But it also was, as Leila noted, a lot of opportunities. It forced countries to source from alternative, different providers. But the challenge, I think, was how do they find these new providers? Right? So that's one point I think we really noted. The second issue was that I think what happened during COVID effectively compressed 10 years worth of digitalization into one to 2 years. You know, what potentially took 10 years for people to digitalize and get connected is now rapidly happening. And I think that's where everyone is driving towards in this panel. And I think combining these two factors together, and that's why we started this initiative, this Proxtera, was how can we work together with our close neighbors in ASEAN, particularly our good friends in Philippines, to say, look, you guys have great products, but once it comes to the digital space, you'll be easily lost. I think the similar narrative we had when you had a big shopping center, you had a small shop and you can't be found. It's similar, I think, to the digital space because there's just so much data around. And I think if you don't have good connectivity, even if you list yourself, it'll be difficult to be found. And so what we wanted to do was to create a very fair, open global network. And how can we help countries like Philippines show your specific products where you have great strengths in, firstly, and that's the key objective, but also how can your other supporting ecosystems, and that's where I think in this panel you had logistics, you had financing, you had marketing. How do you bring all these folks collectively together who are traditionally always by themselves and doing siloed parts? How do you bring them intelligently together and help your business, help your SMEs go global and be discovered? And so that's the objective of Business Without Borders. That's the objective of Proxterra, and we're very happy to work together with you on this. You rightly pointed out it's a 24/7 initiative, but it's something hopefully we can work together with you and benefit the businesses in Philippines.
Thank you so much, Eugene. And along with Chief Sop and Angel, we want to work towards getting you become an honorary citizen here too. Thank you. Cons, we were talking about e-commerce superstars, and that is something that was inspired by a lot of our conversations. Now we have a superstar who just recently went into e-commerce. And without further ado, I would like to welcome my good friend and my idol, Mr. Robin Padilla. Tell us about your journey, Kuya, in being a superstar who's now into e-commerce. Sir.
Bismillahi wa salatu wa salamu rasulillahi. Bismillahi ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like, mashallah, mashallah. I would like to congratulate you, Ma'am Amor, for this very beautiful project. And I'd like to thank everyone, especially our multinational friends. I heard from Singapore who are sharing their knowledge to our Filipino brothers and sisters. As you know, our country is manipulated and monopolized by big businesses. But with this project, I think you will educate and connect small business, Filipino to the world. And that is very important to us. And thank you very much. And now let me talk to my fellow Filipinos in my language. I love them very much. Magandang umaga po. Marami sa inyo ang maaring nagtataka kung bakit ang isang artistang tulad ni Robin Padilla ay napasama po sa isang napakalaking webinar na tulad nito. Ang Business Without Borders, na punong-puno po ng pangako at pag-asa. Noong una, ako po ay inimbitahan para magbigay ng aking mga saloobin tungkol dito. Sa totoo lang po, medyo pinag-isipan ko muna itong mabuti. Ano ba ang maiaambag ko sa napakahalagang usapin ng Business Without Borders? Bumalik po ako sa kung ano ang matagal ko ng saloobin. Ang matagal ko ng advokasya. Una, ang pagmamahal sa ating inang bayan. Pangalawa, ang pagsusulong at pagtulong sa mga kapwa Pilipino nating nangangailangan at kapos sa buhay. Pangatlo, ang pagiging bahagi ng solusyon para maiangat ang ating mga negosyanteng Pilipino, lalo na ang mga tinatawag nating MSMEs o ang maliliit na mga ngalakal. Maikwento ko lang po sa inyo, 5 years ago, binuksan po namin ang aming ancestral home sa Quezon City. At ginawa naming isang events place, ang Museo de Padilla, para po sa mga gustong mag-celebrate ng kanilang mga events sa isang lugar na maganda at may kultura at tradisyon. pero sa abot kaya ang presyo. Ang mas importante po dyan, nagawa rin nating matulungan ang mga maliliit na event suppliers, mga caterers, event organizers, mga florist, at livelihood sa mga kapitbahay. Masaya po ang pakiramdam ng ganito. Makikita niyo po sa mga larawan na yan ang Spanish-Filipino. Kasama po yan sa kultura ng mga Pilipino. Sa loob din po ng mahabang panahon, ang inyong lingkod po ay naging ambasador ng isang money remittance firm. At dahil dito, nakasalamuha ko po ang libu-libong OFWs sa buong mundo. Marami po sa kanila ang nais ng magretiro at magsimula ng maliit na negosyo sa Pilipinas. Kapiling ang kanilang mga pamilya. Hindi lang po nila alam kung papaano dito kayo pumapasok. Ito po ang nagbunsod upang ating buuin ang platapormang Brand RP o Brand Pilipinas. Sa tulong na rin po ni Binibining Amor Maclang at ng Geisler Maclang noong pong 2018. Sa pamamagitan po ng Brand Pilipinas, ay mas lalo nating naintindihan ang problema ng ating mga maliliit na negosyante. Mula noon hanggang ngayon, ay patuloy po ang ating advokasya na hanapan sila ng paraan para makipagsabayan kung hindi man lagpasan ang mga produkto ng ibang bansa, kasabay ng pagpapaunawa at pagpapaalala sa ating mamamayan ng kahalagahan ng pagtanggap sa mga produkto at serbisyong Pilipino. Filipino first, tangkilikin ng atin. Lalo na po ngayon, panahon ng pandemya. Tamang-tama naman po dahil noong Hulyo ng 2020, kasagsagan pa rin po ng pandemya, naimbitahan po tayo na maglingkod, na maging host sa programang Unlad Kaagapay sa Hanap Buhay sa Net25 tuwing linggo. Dito po ay nabigyan tayo ng pagkakataon na makausap ang mga MSMEs, iba't ibang klase ng negosyante, at lalo po nang lumalim ang pangunawa natin sa kanilang sitwasyon. Mga problema at kung paano tayo posibleng makatulong sa kanila. Saludo po ako sa mga Pinoy MSMEs natin na hindi natitinag sa pandemya. Ang kanilang sipag sa pagtatrabaho para sa kanilang pamilya. Dahil dyan, nakatutulong po sila sa pambansang ekonomiya sa ngayon. At ito naman pong July ng taong ito, sinimulan po natin planuhin ang pagbuo ng Brand RP Marketplace, isang online site na naisakatuparan naman po nitong Setyembre. Ang layunin po ng Brand RP Marketplace ay magsilbing plataforma para sa ating mga maliliit na negosyante para maibenta ang kanilang mga produkto gamit ang online channel. Kabilang po sa nauna nating seller sa Brand RP Marketplace ay ang brand na Makabayan na gumagawa ng mga t-shirt kung saan ang bida ay ang ating mga pambansang bayani. Pero gumagamit ng slogan na makabago. Tulad po ng makikita nyo sa screen. Ito po yan. Jose Rizal. Makata, mapagmahal, magugustuhan ni mama, pero maraming chicks. Ang Digital Pilipinas na nagbibigay daan para sa paggamit ng teknolohiya sa iba't ibang industriya ay napakaganda pong konsepto na napapanahon at mapapakinabangan ng ating mga negosyante, maliit man o malaki. Ang business without borders o ang pagtanggal ng anumang balakid sa negosyante para makalipad sila sa larangan ng pagdiisa pong napakagandang ideya na buong pusong sinusuportahan ng Brand Pilipinas. Ang Digital Pilipinas at Business Without Borders ay dalawang proyekto pong tugmang-tugma sa aking personal na advokasya para sa bayan at para sa ating mga MSMEs na gustong-gusto po nating matulungan. Kaya kaisa po ninyo ako at ang Brand Pilipinas sa pagsusulong ng Business Without Borders at ng Digital Pilipinas. Ako po si Robin Padilla, ang utol ng mga MSME ng mga maliliit na negosyante. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po kayo, mabuhay ang Pilipinas, mabuhay ang negosyanteng Pilipino. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Kuya Robin. Now, magtatanong ako sa lahat sa inyo because everyone is now talking about the Philippines being like a potential epicenter, right, in the region for e-commerce. Cons, you've been everywhere. You've worked in many markets. Why the Philippines? Why did you choose to domicile here? What do you see in the Philippines?
Yeah, Philippines has been my second home for more than 8 years now. So in a way, I'm
Cons,
now.
please. Thanks.
Can you hear me now?
All good, Cons. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. No, Philippines has been my home for more than 8 years now, right? So I've become biased, I guess. But we clearly see the opportunity, right? For two reasons. I think one, we have, of course, a large domestic market that is going online more and more. We have within the Philippines a market where retail was always very fragmented between the different regions, right? Even if you look at like mall operators, department stores, and so on, it's always very regional. I think we now have a huge opportunity, especially for MSMEs, by opening up that market to the whole nation, right? So that if you are an SME selling a particular good from your home province, or I mean, even if you're importing something, producing something, right, whatever it is, managing to bridge the gap and truly make the nation accessible as a market, I think, is a fantastic opportunity for many to grow their business. At the same time, what we believe strongly and look at is that it requires a localized logistics infrastructure to actually do that well. What does it mean? Currently, let's say you're sitting in Cebu or Davao, I mean, tier 1 cities, right? You should be getting a tier 1 experience. But what happens when you typically order something online? Well, if it comes cross-border out of China, you're going to wait like 15 days or so for your goods, right? And you don't even know, like the window could be huge. The window could be 8 days, or the window could be 30 days.
Good day.
Like that's nuts, right? I mean, who wants to wait that long? But even if you're ordering something that comes out of Metro Manila, it's fulfilled from Manila, you're going to wait 8 days and you're going to pay a typical shipping fee on the marketplace of like 100, 150 pesos, while somebody in Metro Manila ordering the same good gets it in 2 days and pays maybe 50 pesos shipping. Like, hey, why should I pay like 3 times as much shipping? Like, who wants to pay 150 pesos for shipping? Such a waste of money. And who wants to wait 8 days, right? Like, that's not how e-commerce is supposed to work. And I think what we're going to see over the next couple of years is that we're going to go to a state where like you're going to wait no more than 2 days to get your order wherever you are in the Philippines. And you're going to expect to get most of the stuff next day or same day, right? And that requires brands, but also SMEs, to put their goods closer to customers so that we reduce the logistics costs, which are driving up a big part of why things are fairly expensive, right? That was one of the things that stuck me when I first moved to the Philippines, and then I was exploring the provinces, and I was like, well, technically things should be cheaper if you're outside of the big city, and then you realize like, holy shit, they're way more expensive. And the further you get from Manila, a lot of things, I mean, especially like packaged goods, right, are just getting more and more expensive, and it's something we need to change, because fundamentally, it's creating barriers on two sides. One is, why should consumers pay more, right? And the second one is it's creating barriers for businesses to also grow. So ultimately, we feel that Philippines is is a great country to generally enable SMEs and brands to make e-commerce fundamentally change the way that that business is done, and as part of that, break down the barriers between regions. The other one that that I wanted to point out, and it's great that we have Broxterra here and the Monetary Authority of Singapore. We have one massive benefit as the Philippines in taking our businesses global, which is that there is no language barrier if you want to sell in Singapore. There's no language barrier if you want to sell in Australia. There's no language barrier if you want to sell to the United States, right? In the end, there's only a barrier of imagination and ambition, and there's possibly a barrier of logistics, and that's what Lokat is here to help solve. But aside from that, you can, right? And that makes it much easier for anyone building a business regionally, building a business internationally, and taking even an SME global, in doing that from the Philippines and from many other markets where language becomes a bigger topic, right? And because we're so culturally diverse, and because everybody has a relative who is working abroad or living abroad or something, right? So we're so connected to what's going on in the world. We're so connected to what is culturally happening in the United States and Australia or wherever, that we also know what products or brands could be successful, right? And in a way, this often leads to like inward importation, right? Like the whole K-pop craze, but it can also lead to outward exportation of our products, of ideas, of brands, and fundamentally, as the logistics barriers to doing that go down, I think there's a huge potential for many Filipino brands, but also and especially MSMEs to expand the market either within the Philippines or abroad.
Cons, you promised you're going to help our small MSMEs, right? Tell us about our freemium model for MSMEs, Cons.
Yeah, so the nice thing is it's actually happening already, right? So when we set up the on-demand supply chain, the logistics cloud in the Philippines, while we do serve some of the bigger brands, we like Landmark Department Store Havaianas, so we actually serve a lot of SMEs. Like 80% of the brands that we do the logistics for are actually SMEs that do anywhere between 20 orders a day to 100 orders a day, but often companies that are run by a single owner or by a few people, and as sole proprietors and all, right? So just really SMEs with an ambition to grow in e-commerce. And since we opened our fulfillment offering in Singapore and Australia 2 months ago, our first clients in both markets were businesses from the Philippines who decided to go to those markets. So essentially, how does this work, right? You have a product that is selling in the Philippines. Let's say you're running a Shopify store. Often you're already getting some inquiries from people abroad, right? Sometimes from the Pinoy diaspora, from OFWs, so they want to buy home products. Sometimes already from people abroad. Doesn't matter, right? But we get a lot of people that see the demand already. So what does it then take to bring your business abroad, and what hasn't really happened for some of these brands and SMEs who already did it? They signed up with Lokat for 250 Sing dollars, right? Like less than 10,000 pesos a month. They were booking our Singapore warehouse, sending products there. We have partners that can help them on import clearance and stuff, so it became really tremendously easy. And they created a store on Lazada Singapore in the same way as they already had on Lazada Philippines, and added Singapore shipping for their Shopify store. All of that provided by Lokat, because we do have localized shipping options. And they just started selling. Like literally, the investment was 250 10,000 pesos a month, consumable, and whatever stock was sent there, right? And suddenly you have a second market. Like it's become so easy. It's just like if you're running a food stall and you're opening a second location. It's possible, and because we don't have the language barrier, it's actually a lot easier for businesses from Philippines to expand to other markets, and then many people are already used to Lazada, are already used to Amazon, are already used to Shopify, right? Because the platforms are global. So ultimately, I think we'll see more and more businesses take that leap. And
More
we've
and
been super
more
encouraged by the
Filipino
initial reception.
storefronts, right? I think that's our joint advocacy here, would be more Filipino storefronts out there. Kim, we were talking with Kuya Dick about the idea of coming together to really form an e-commerce group for Filipinos and by Filipinos. Why don't you share with us, and then I'd like to listen in on Kuya Dick, how we can make this come about.
Well, I'd like to see a community that could really help build more Filipino storefronts. Like what Cons were sharing, there are a lot of enablers. It's more easier to create businesses online, but having a community to support e-commerce, I think it would be easier for more Filipinos to adopt online businesses.
And what's your program for women and youth specific to Business Without Borders?
Well, we've been here in the industry for the past 15 years, and I'd like to empower, uplift women to go e-commerce, to go online.
Yes, count on you. Kuya Dick, we have your support along with DCOM. What are you seeing as prospects for e-commerce moving forward?
Well,
You've seen it grow through the years.
Well, we have always been a believer that e-commerce will bring down borders, and as far as payments are concerned, we have been preparing for this for several years. For example, we've been accepting Alipay and WeChat Pay payments here for Philippine merchants for I think more than 3-4 years already. We have also been allowing overseas Filipinos to make local purchases here and pay through PNB remittance offices anywhere in the world. In more recent months, we have activated cryptocurrencies as a form of payment for our local merchants. So someone who's doing e-sabong can actually fund his wallet using Bitcoins. And our recent decision to take in investment from a fintech unicorn based out of Indonesia is also in that same line of thought that we're opening up the border. Southeast Asia is going to be at first is Southeast Asia going to be one big trading region. So we are preparing for that, and this is basically just all the pieces coming together.
Thank you so much. I'd like to hear some last words from our other panelists before I turn it over to our PTTC mama, Ma'am Nelly Deliera. Jay, what are you going to do for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so on our platform, anyone can go in and get their website audited by our ethical hackers for free on secuna.com. So we have a freemium model there, and everyone can sign up.
Yes, and of course, all of you guys are also teaching in our Business Without Borders Academy. And that's going to be in the 3rd week of November. So we thank all of the experts, all MSMEs, learning from other experts as well. Eugene, you want to talk about our SME Day happening on November 11th?
Thank you, Amo. Yes, so as part of our Singapore FinTech Festival, we are dedicating a special day fully on SMEs itself. And we are actually having coverage of the key markets that SMEs could benefit from in China and India, as well as Africa. We're getting leading business leaders who were successful in these countries to share how they managed to achieve it, how they managed to digitalize and survive during this current climate. And we're also getting leading lecturers from major universities to share the current skill sets and the future technologies that SMEs and businesses would thrive. So it's a special SME Day. I think we're working with Amor's team to share this with the community. And we hope this can be a learning journey, a start of a longer learning journey for everyone as part of this growing community.
Eugene, before we wrap up, would you like to share with everyone the accreditation program that we're going to be launching in November?
That's right. And I think that's a part of the broader accreditation certification. As part of a knowledge certification process that we're working together with AMO and the Digital Filipinas on. The SME Day is, of course, one certification there is, but I think there's also other certifications such as Web 3.0 that we're driving. And I think AMO herself has many other exciting programs in place also. So please do check this out. And I think this will be available on her media.
Thank you so much, Eugene. And Cons, I took your word to heart. You said not just webinars, so we have an entire program plus awards, but this time our accreditation will be on the blockchain. Robin, I have you know, the beauty about Singapore is that it's a melting pot of cultures, no? Muslim, Christians, Indians, and various ASEAN countries come together. Here in the Philippines, parang it's not as big a melting pot as Singapore, no? Parang, don't you think napapag-iwanan, especially our MSMEs in Mindanao and also our Muslim MSMEs? Sir, audio, sir.
Okay, sorry. Kanina may binanggit tungkol dun sa napakaganda nun eh. I would like to share to our multinationals. Before the colonials came to the Philippines, our countrymen before are engaged in barter trade. We are very good with that. We have been doing barter with China, with India, with all those countries around us. Kasi our geographical in the map, we are on the center. So now we're talking about the internet, and siguro masasabi ko ang naging problema natin nung panahon na yun, nung mga dumaan na panahon, masyado tayo manipulated ng malalaking negosyo. Ang kagandahan with this internet and e-commerce, there is no borders na nga eh. The only problem is we don't have the connection. We don't have the education. A lot of our countrymen has no education in business. All they have experience. In my show in Unlad Kaagapay sa Buhay, sa Hanap Buhay, almost 80% of them has no background in business. All they have is their, of course, enthusiasm and their experience. So if this project will push through, and a lot of my Muslim brothers and sisters, not only them, also the Lumads, can really join your education, and you can really give them the connection. We have products that really will work not only for the Filipino people, but for the world market. The world right now is so involved with organic products. Well, our country has a lot of that. We are an agricultural land. We can supply that, whatever you want. All we need is the right education and connection. Thank you very much, ma'am.
And speaking of connections, this is it, right? You talked about the amazing diversity and going back to our roots, being an ASEAN nation. If there is one person who has introduced me to the special role that the Philippines has in relation to ASEAN by exposing me to the beauty of Mindanao, South Central Mindanao, bringing me to her hometown in Maguindanao, and also exposing me to the beauty of South Cotabato. It is my honor, before I turn it over to Chino, to give you the formal introduction of our mama for DTI and the PTTC. This lady is very close to my heart. Together in 2013, we worked together to promote the Tinalak of the Tiboli region. And now it is seen as, I heard it and it made me cry, the Hermes of Philippine fabrics. No? So it was at that point in time, bagong salta kami in South Cotabato in 2013. And she has been my mama ever since. So from tourism to DTI, executive director, my mentor, Nelly Deliera. But before I turn her over to you, Chino, why don't you take away with a more formal introduction?
All right, thank you so much, Amor. Amor, before we have Ma'am Nelly to do the closing remarks, may I ask all the speakers to turn on your videos and let's have a picture with all of our speakers.
With Ma'am Nelly, please. With
Yes, Ma'am Nelly.
This is not just our pledge for Business Without Borders to be on the Proxtera platform and, of course, to support the DTI in their MSME advocacy. Ma'am Nelly?
All right.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right. We'll take one photo. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you so much. And now just to formally thank, I'd like to formally thank all our panelists for sharing your insights on Business Without Borders. We thank all of you for inspiring us to actually pursue e-commerce and MSMEs and e-retail. To end our program, may I now introduce the Executive Director of the Philippine Trade and Training Center of the DTI, Executive Director Nelly Deliera. Ma'am, good morning.
Thank you very much, Chino. Thank you very much, Amor. Good morning, everyone. Exciting days ahead, really, for Business Without Borders and Digital Filipinas. And I'd like also to pick up what Robin was saying, training for entrepreneurs who don't have formal background in operating business, trust Business Without Borders, and of course, Digital Filipinas. And please include in your list the Philippine Trade Training Center. I'm from Mindanao, Robin. Okay, and of course, Amor, it's nice seeing you again. Well, we've actually been seeing each other, but this time, especially in 2013, when we were working for the regional and provincial level, but this time, getting with you again, or thank you for onboarding us in this program to be a part of this international activity that will really benefit a lot of our MSMEs. Now, initially, as Chino was also saying, let me also take this opportunity of thanking our guests who shared their thoughts and expertise today. Just to go over a bit, Sec Mon Lopez said this movement is very timely, especially at this time of the pandemic. Shift to e-commerce to stay afloat with registered 109,345 business names since March of 2020. It only shows that a lot of Filipinos are really wanting to get into business. But I think strengthening their capability and upskilling and reskilling is very much needed because we have a different playing field. And Business Without Borders and Digital Filipinas will really be of help to them. And we're also very happy to hear Mr. Sop Moharte, who said that the Southeast Asia is the fastest growing economy, and getting back to previous level very soon is actually seen, and Philippines as an attractive investment area. So again, Business Without Border will bring business to become more mature, accessible, to seamlessly adapt digitally. I'm also very happy to hear what Shirish Jain of Proxtera said. 70 to 80% of employment are actually coming from MSMEs, and it's inevitable for MSMEs not to digitalize. Business Without Borders focus is to bring the world to you, MSME, and to MSME to be fully digitalized and thrive domestically and globally. Proxtera opens immense level of opportunities for MSMEs through the various platforms they are offering, from financial to logistics and supply chain. Indeed, cross-border business operation. Kami mismo, even us in PTTC, are very excited to participate in the training programs that will be offered by our partners, and more so, of course, encourage all our MSMEs to be a part of it. And there were so many takeaways from the panel discussion, from DragonPay, Small Business Corporation, Kim Store, Monetary Authority of Singapore, OF Bank, LOCAD, Secuna Cybersecurity, and of course, Robin Padilla's brand Filipinas. Ang ganda, di ba? The OF Bank recognizes the opportunity to create strong partnership to build an enabling ecosystem for OFW and Filipinos. And also, I'm very happy to hear from Ms. Laila Martin about Escaparate. I think we have a common friend in the person of Mr. Joey Bermudez, who's actually the founder of Escaparate, and we're actually supporting them. Once again, thank you to the convener of the movement, Geyser Maklang. We hope that we have conveyed our message to you that we are here to help you tech up, to seize the vast opportunities and level up, evolve and prosper in the global marketplace, where digitalization is the key and major tool that equalizes the playing field for entrepreneurs, for your business to become a global brand. And as a training arm of the DTI, we are mandated to reskill and upskill the MSMEs. We are joining this movement because it is very much aligned to our program. We have Ascend, Advancement of Skills and Competencies of Entrepreneurs for Internationalization Agenda. And our Ascend program is what we enroll in this Business Without Borders program initiated by Geyser Maklang. Ascend is for aspiring, yung mga nagsisimula or gusto palang mag-open ng business. It's also for the domestic MSMEs and even exporters, with focus on business functions such as business development, marketing, sales and finance, human resource, accounting and finance, product management, and business management. By the way, we also have Heroes program. This is with SB Core. The Heroes program is actually for OFWs. We provide training programs, and towards the end of the training, the OFWs are actually required to present a business plan or a business pitch to SB Core, which now becomes their basis in approving the loan that they're applying for. We also have a program we call Push Start, kasi nga we also wanted to assist our MSMEs digitalize or transform digitally, so that we wanted to introduce business tools or text tools. But I think the very partners that we have with Business Without Borders, their skills and the value that we're adding to them will even more be maximized. So we'll also be inviting them to that. And by the way, again, Ms. Amor and Robin, Complete Women is a program that we have for indigenous people, the Muslims, Magindanaons, etc. in Mindanao, the Tibolis, everyone. Training, because sometimes, you know, accessing training programs or accessing businesses or whatever programs that we have for them to become or strengthen their entrepreneurship capability can become a challenge. But we have a specific program we call Complete Women. It's not only for women though, because the spelling is capital W-O and capital M-E-N. So it's actually for the indigenous people. So to have a better upskilling and reskilling foundation, we're also very happy to inform our Singapore partners that we're referencing on the Singapore Skills Framework to develop our own. We have completed already logistics and supply chain, as well as business development and marketing, sales and partnership, and is working collaboratively on game development, software development, and business operations skills framework. So, but more than looking at how they can compete within the Philippines, we need to develop businesses without borders, and technology, digitalization are among the parameters to do this. We would be requiring a lot of collaboration, and thank you very much for making us a part of this. There is strength in collaboration. Business without border is our way to go, and uplifting MSMEs and e-retail, creating global runway for our Pinoy MSMEs through digital and cross-border cooperation. By the way, we shall be having a week-long training intended for MSMEs. I think that was already mentioned by Mr. Go early on. But towards the end of this, we will actually be giving MSMEs an opportunity to participate in a pitch fest. And Business Without Borders and Digital Filipinas, together with the partners and conveners, shall be providing awards to our MSMEs. So that's one thing for all of you to look forward to. So register to the 4-day learning and mentoring to equip you in pitching your digital transformation for your online global presence. And please do share this good news to other growth-oriented entrepreneurs like you. We shall be posting the link soon. So again, advancing skills and competencies will definitely equip to make global business prosper in this arena. Once again, to all the partners, to the convener of this particular movement, Business Without Borders and Digital Filipinas. Hats off, Amor Maclang and Geyser Maclang, and to everyone who are sharing their expertise to our Filipino MSMEs. Thank you very much in advance, although I know that you have actually been working with them in the past. And thank you again for making PTTC a part of this initiative to be our partners, and together, let's strengthen, let's support Filipino MSMEs, not just operating within the Philippines, but crossing the border through the Business Without Borders program of the Digital Filipinas. Maraming salamat po for joining us this morning. See you in the next runs, and see you wherever there are entrepreneurs coming from the Philippines and eventually coming from the world. Maraming salamat po. Magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Deliera. Philippine businesses can indeed look to a level playing field where they can shine and connect with more customers in the Philippines and overseas. Business Without Borders has laid the groundwork for a new digital and e-commerce landscape that will have tremendous positive impact on our country and our people. We invite everyone to sign up for the program, as mentioned by Executive Director Deliera, on the 3rd week of November. Thank you to all our speakers for sharing all your insights. We also thank the media and our audience for giving time to be with us this morning. We hope to see you all on the 3rd week of November. Maraming salamat po, and have a wonderful day.